So have you ever found yourself just staring at a screen, your eyes locked onto that tiny glowing word at the bottom of a text message?
Oh, yeah. The dreaded read receipt.
Exactly. I mean, you sent the message at like 10 in the morning. It's now 2 in the afternoon. And at first, you assume they're just busy.
Right. They're at work or driving.
Yeah, but as the hours tick by, that unanswered message, it starts to become more than just an unanswered message. It
Right.
really starts to feel like information about the relationship itself, like this growing knot of
It's
anxiety.
a very universal modern experience.
It really is. And that's exactly the mission of our deep dive today. We're unpacking this modern tendency to interpret an unanswered message or, a period of silence as definitive proof that a relationship is just over.
Which is a heavy assumption to carry around every day.
It is. And we've got a fascinating stack of philosophical and structural essays today to help us explore this.
Yeah.
We're going to get into concepts like asynchrony, the structure of return, and this framework called reflective humanism.
Yeah, the goal here isn't just to make you feel better about, like, your friends who are slow texters.
Right. No, we want to completely reevaluate what actually keeps relationships alive.
Right.
We're going to explore the possibility that continuity depends a lot less on how fast someone replies and more on whether a path remains open for people to touch again after time has passed.
I love that framing because we really do live in an era where our communication systems are, well, they're engineered to make our relational status continuously visible.
Yeah, they really are.
I mean, when you look at the interface of any modern messaging app, you are essentially looking at a dashboard of telemetry.
Like a heart monitor for your friendship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've got the read and unread indicators, a little green dot showing someone is online, the last active timestamp. And because of that architecture, the time between messages, it stops being neutral. It transforms into this metric we use for evaluation.
And that metric naturally leads us down a very specific painful logic loop.
Oh, definitely.
Like you see a delayed reply, and the immediate thought is, well, I'm not a priority. And if I'm not a priority, that means there's less interest.
Right, and it just cascades from there.
Yeah, which means the relationship is weaker. It is just this straight line from a 4-hour silence to feeling like the whole bond is falling apart.
But we have to recognize that this logic loop, it isn't necessarily a factual reality. It's an interpretation. And it's one that is heavily intensified by the technology we use.
Because the interface is always demanding our attention.
Yeah, these interfaces, they make us feel like we should always be connected. So the empty space where a reply should be feels like a failure, rather than just normal human life happening.
Okay, let's unpack this, though, because I want to push back just a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
Doesn't response speed, sometimes mean something? I mean, let's be real. If someone replies within 30 seconds consistently versus taking 2 full days, that fast reply genuinely indicates care, doesn't it? It shows attention.
Oh, absolutely. Response speed can definitely be one signal. But the issue is that it does not map perfectly onto the true underlying strength of a relationship.
How do you mean?
Well, the sources point out that when we expect an immediate reply, we're assuming the other person is living within our identical temporal rhythm.
Oh, like they have the exact same schedule as me.
Right. But structurally, they are in a completely different rhythm. They have a different workload, a different burden they're carrying that day, different rhythms for recovery. They might even have a totally different sense of what silence means.
So the lack of a reply doesn't automatically mean a lack of relationship.
Exactly. It just means the other person's life exists outside of that digital connection.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But it really highlights how we've built these relationships based almost entirely on synchronization.
Yeah, the synchronous structure. It's very straightforward. Contact leads to an immediate response, which provides mutual confirmation.
And then you have a visible connection.
Right. And as long as that communication keeps flowing back and forth, the relationship feels safe. But the vulnerability there is that the moment it stops, the relationship feels lost.
Because any time spent not contacting each other is pushed completely outside the relationship.
Exactly. It's viewed as a void rather than a normal part of the bond.
But let me ground this in reality for a second, because some degree of synchronization is absolutely necessary, right? Like, think about families trying to coordinate childcare or collaborative work deadlines.
Oh, for sure. Or emergency safety checks.
Yeah, exactly. If someone is in an emergency, I need them to be in sync with me.
And the sources validate that completely. Emergencies, care responsibilities, the transfer of critical information, those things absolutely require synchronized rhythm.
Can't just be like, oh, I'll text you back in 3 days about picking up the kids.
Right. No, that would be a disaster. The issue isn't that synchronization is bad. The danger arises when synchronization becomes the only accepted proof that a relationship exists at all.
Wow, yeah. If that's the only metric, we're constantly on the verge of failing.
Which brings us to the alternative, this idea of the architecture of asynchrony.
And there's this core formula from the text that I'm so excited to introduce because it just clicked everything into place for me.
It's a great breakdown.
It goes like this. The same relationship plus different times plus a path of reconnection equals an asynchronous relationship.
What's fascinating here is that asynchrony isn't merely, replying late. That's how we usually think of it. But it's actually a structural space where two people can live at entirely different speeds without losing the bond.
So it's not a continuous wire.
No, not at all. Think of it as multiple points of contact connected across time. The relationship exists in the silence just as much as it does in the ping of a new message.
And the text mentions these fascinating little things called small signals.
Yeah, the low-damage reconnection protocols.
Right. Things like sending a text that just says, I'll reply later. Or honestly, even just leaving someone on read.
Yeah.
Or saying, hey, let's talk again soon. These aren't promises for an immediate response.
No, they aren't contracts tying you down. But what they do is they refuse to cut off the connection entirely. They leave the door slightly ajar.
They're keeping that path of reconnection open.
Exactly.
But wait, what actually happens when someone finally does return? Because let's say a friend goes dark for 3 months, and then they finally walk back through that open door.
This is a vital point from the sources. You never return to the exact same past relationship.
Really? But it's the same person.
It is, but time has passed, which means both you and the other person have changed. You've had new experiences. Returning means you have to use the past relationship as material to generate an entirely new contact surface.
Oh, wow. Generating a new contact surface. I love that phrasing. So you're not just picking up where you left off.
Right. You're building something new out of the history you share.
But this brings up a very practical tension because, okay, what does this all mean for the person who's just left waiting?
That's the hard part, isn't it?
Yeah. Doesn't this whole idea of asynchrony just become a really convenient excuse for irresponsibility?
Right.
Or honestly just ghosting someone?
The sources are very firm on addressing this, specifically around the stance on responsibility. True asynchrony is not a unilateral holding pattern.
Meaning one person isn't just forcing the other to wait indefinitely.
Exactly. If the relationship status is completely opaque and you have no idea where you stand, that is not asynchrony. That is just an uncommunicated hold.
You're just trapped.
Right. True asynchrony actually requires holding multiple freedoms simultaneously.
Okay, what kind of freedoms?
It's the freedom to wait, the freedom to leave, the freedom to move on to other options, the freedom to return, and crucially, the freedom not to return.
Oh, man. The freedom not to return, that takes a lot of trust.
It does. And this ties directly into the concept of reflective humanism from the text. They talk about this ethics of distance.
Touching without touching too much.
Yes. It's an ethical stance of respecting the other person's space. It's acknowledging that a truly healthy relationship doesn't just tolerate drop-offs and pauses and silences. It actually includes them as part of the structure.
That is so counter to how we operate today. Which actually leads me to my next point. Here's where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just about texting a friend.
No, it scales up way beyond that.
Right, this is about how our entire society operates.
Yeah.
When we look at organizations and institutions, they demand constant synchronization.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have to answer emails by certain deadlines. You have to attend meetings at set times. You have to show continuous, unbroken results quarter after quarter.
And the societal structure, it's designed to process masses of people efficiently. But the downside is that it violently punishes those whose life rhythms don't perfectly match the institutional clock.
It's like a moving train, right?
Yeah.
If you trip on the platform for even a second, the train just leaves without you.
That's a perfect analogy. Because a temporary delay in a person's life, maybe they have a health issue or a family crisis, it gets unfairly translated by the system as a lack of will.
Like they just don't care enough.
Right. When in reality, the rhythm just temporarily desynced from the machine.
But do organizations have a realistic choice? I mean, a business has to require deadlines to function. right?
Well, the argument here is that true inclusion in civilization isn't measured by how many people are constantly connected and synchronized. It's actually measured by how many paths exist for someone who dropped off to return.
Oh, so it's about the on-ramps, not just keeping everyone on the highway.
Exactly. And furthermore, in the workplace, the person who replies instantly to every message isn't always the one thinking the most deeply about the problem.
That is so true. The fastest reply is usually the most surface level one.
Asynchrony allows a space where thoughts and judgments can actually mature. People process at different speeds. Allowing for that delay eventually brings a much richer, more considered viewpoint back to the organization.
It's prioritizing depth over speed, which honestly brings us to the most surprising application in the source material. It applies all of this to our relationship with AI.
Yes, the AI aspect is fascinating.
The text introduces this idea of AI functioning as an atmospheric health scan.
Right, because normally we treat AI like a vending machine. We put in a prompt, we get a synchronous, instant reply, and the task is done.
But as an atmospheric health scan, dialogues aren't just one-off tasks.
Exactly. When you interact with an AI under this framework, you might leave a really complex question, step away to live your life for a few days, and then return. And the records of that chat, they serve as the foothold for your return.
The path of reconnection. But wait, shouldn't the digital record just perfectly recreate the past context? Like, shouldn't it just pick up exactly where my brain left off 3 days ago?
The text specifically warns against doing that. If a record perfectly freezes the past, returning just becomes this rigid restoration project.
It forces you back into an old version of yourself.
Yes, it risks holding our present selves hostage to our past ideas. A truly revisitable record, whether it's with an AI or with a human being, it holds the past, but it leaves a margin for the present self to reinterpret it.
Because you've gone through that phase jump. You're a different person now.
Exactly. You have to be allowed to bring your new context into the old conversation.
Wow. Okay, so if we zoom all the way out here, what we're really talking about is flexibility. A truly strong relationship, whether it's with a partner, an employer, or even a digital system, isn't necessarily one where you are constantly in sync, firing messages back and forth in real time.
No, a healthy structure survives the drop-offs.
It survives the silences and the inevitable changes we go through, simply because it leaves a path open to touch again. It has temporal flexibility,
It gives you the grace to be out of sync.
which leaves us with a lot to think about. Because if the deepest, most resilient relationships are actually the ones that allow us the structural space to walk away, to change, and to return as entirely different people, what does our modern obsession with instant synchronized replies say about our fear of change itself?